Hi, it's Pamela Slim from the Pamela Slim Agency, and I wanted to do a short, maybe educational rant. Not really a rant, but something that I see all the time in terms of a pattern for people who I work with who are often expert-led businesses, people who have professional service businesses, who have a really good, solid B2B, business to business model where they're often selling services directly into large companies and understandably can get excited about things like creating maybe an online course or passive revenue in terms of maybe memberships or kinds of offerings where they see that their method is one that not only could be a good fit for large companies, but also could be for individuals in the B2C or business to consumer market. One of the things that's really important to remember is that while, yes, opportunities can abound everywhere, that there are very different marketing strategies, operations, mechanisms required to have a really successful B2B business versus B2C. And it's also just sometimes in the math. So let's say you have maybe an average in a B2B business of about maybe $50,000 per contract. Maybe some are 10, some are 100, some are 50. And so around the average is maybe 50K. If you were desiring to make $1 million in a year, then it would be having about 20 clients to do so in a B2B environment. Now, getting those clients, for those of you who sell into that environment, is not easy. It is a long, often much more drawn out sales cycle. There's a lot of relationship building. There often is really important thought leadership work like creating white papers or speaking or doing research studies, things like that, to really build that credibility and relationship with an organization. And so in no way is it easy to get that business, but you can just tell from a number of touches that if you are able to have 20 client projects in a year, you can get to that income level. So let's say you already have those mechanisms going, and then you can get excited about doing something in the B2C or business to consumer world. Often for the kinds of things that you're looking at for individual price points, or maybe, solopreneurs who would be purchasing your services, there's going to be a much smaller dollar amount per transaction. So you're going to need to have a lot more clients. Instead of 20, you might need to have 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 in order to see the same kind of numbers as you would see on the B2B side. The kinds of marketing activities that often lead to a good B2C market are going to be things like a product funnel and using digital marketing and having lead magnets, often showing up in a different way as well, where you more are the thought leader who's out in front and you have really good web copy. It's more the what have you done for me lately? How can I make a sale right now with persuasive copy, with conversion, in order to get the volume of people that you need coming into your business. So what happens for a lot of people is that conceptually, I often agree what you have in your core method or your body of work can be something that could be useful to many different audiences. But when you're actually trying to execute them at the same time, I found that most people will underestimate the amount of time, energy, and money required in order to build a B2C business. So there can often be that first wave of interested people. Very often people will say things like, gosh, but every time I go out and I speak, I always have this handful of people who say, if you ever have this program that's available for individuals, I would love to participate. And so sometimes you get that first wave as you build something for that market that would be for people who already want it. But then as time goes on, it takes a lot more money in terms of advertising and lead generation to get new people familiar with who you are in your body of work. So in general, I'm not a fan of trying to do both at the same time, build a really strong B2B business and build a B2C business. Where you can see an architecture where you're planning for it, you have a well-staffed marketing function, the different activities that are required for each, and you can see at least that there's a way, if you're selling to both markets, that one could be feeding the other, then it could make a lot of sense. But otherwise, you may want to reconsider. If you already are making great progress B2B, you have big companies interested in your work, by expanding the scope of what you do or bringing on a couple more clients, you can often reach your income goals much faster, still have a lot of impact, and not spend a lot of headache and time and money and energy in building a B2C business that you may not even want over the long term. So I hope I didn't crush any dreams. I know that it's hard sometimes to be making these kinds of choices, but when you are getting ready to scale, it is, as I was talking with a client recently, really about having a more simple footprint, and it's about having focus. And that's going to allow you to go farther income wise and impact wise than trying to do everything at the same time.